So the final week of my birthday, and I am swearing off hosting duty for at least 2 weeks. Is Team America World Police, the infamous? We've talked about it a bunch on this show already, but it's the infamous parody of fuck. Why didn't I look up what the show's called? Steve?
Thunderbirds.
Oh, Thunderbirds. I remember that shit.
Parody of Thunderbirds, only more grotesque and playing.
Also, Captain Scarlet. There was a bunch of mannequin shows
that's
from
true. Captain Scarlet as
a
well.
certain era of television. I think it was the 60s. I can't remember.
Those ones kind of, they had like dead faces, and I don't even think, did Thunderbirds' mouths even move?
Oh yeah, they move like this.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So these look like almost an animatronic face. I don't know. I didn't watch any behind the scenes stuff on this one because I am burnt out on Trey Parker and Matt Stone. But I imagine that they had little face. I did see a little vignette of Coraline, and they had little faces that like come off and go on for the different expressions. I imagine they probably had something similar to this.
This one, it seemed like they had like articulation, like they had like gears and stuff that would move into smiles and things.
One of the dolls does burn completely, so that doll probably had several versions of it, and one doll pukes so much puke that that doll was probably not able to be like dry cleaned. I know it's not real puke, obviously, but the doll was probably ruined with whatever.
There's like some intern, like Michael Scott with the Woody doll in The Office, just like a bunch of them, like trying to clean them in a bathroom.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, for some of them, like for the one that they lit on fire, did they have to have like 6 of them so they could get one shot? But I will say that some shots with those like moments do look like they were, especially that shot looked like it was done, and then that's it. We got the take. Same with like the cats. You kind of have to just do, like, you can't corral two. They look like younger cats too. You can't really make them act. Anyway, we'll get into it when we talk about Team America World Police. It is Wednesday night, my dudes, and hey, did you see this one?
Hey, I saw it. I saw it yesterday.
I saw it. I watched it today.
Is it inappropriate to say Durka Durka?
Yes.
Okay.
Most of the things in this you can't repeat. In 2004,
I would say stay clear of all of the voices.
Yep. Except you can talk like Gary and Miss Wordsworth. They're fine because they're just white people in a movie. They're just
a bunch of terrible white people.
Everyone has AIDS. Even that's questionable. You definitely can't.
Well, I mean, they're just directly parodying Rent, which is Rent, like, okay, I guess it's funny.
You can't say Film Actors Guild. You can't say can't talk like Kim Jong-un.
Ill.
Yeah. Kim Jong-il.
Can't talk like him.
You can't be Romri.
No. See, that's even towing the line a little bit.
It's inappropriate. I feel this movie, I think it felt to me like the most inappropriate out of all of them for some reason.
Yeah, because it was right before like the PC police took over, There
is a part of me though that the sheer amount of stupidity that they inject into America and white people that sort of balances the equation out a little bit for me. Like it is problematic for sure, and you can't really do this kind of stuff anymore, but truly the stupidest characters in the movie are the white people that think they know better than everybody else.
That's true. Like the Actors Guild. But before we actually get into the movie, we'll keep the format. Kaylin, what was your first sort of foray into this movie?
It was my first foray.
We are all relatively the same age, I think.
I believe so.
Give or take a couple years,
and I think it's reasonable that we know. Anyway, Kaylin, I'm going to grab a brewski dooski. Kaylin, tell us about it.
You grab a brewski. I'll entertain our guest / Steven.
Entertain me! I demand entertainment.
This whole podcast is just so we can entertain each other midweek to break the week up. That's all it is.
So we know the week is mostly done at this point.
Yeah.
Is your first half heavier than your second half? Mine probably. Well, actually, no. Mine is just all busy all week.
Yeah, it's I have a 9 to 5 job, so this
I
is
have a
actually
3-day. I have a 4-day work week, so it's pretty sweet for me.
yeah. Your week
Lucky
is
you.
like tomorrow's your Friday, basically.
Yeah, you know how they used to say Thursday's the new Friday? Well, for me, Wednesday's the new Thursday.
When I get to this point of the day on Wednesday, though, it's like I just have to deal with Thursday, and then Friday isn't that bad. It's Thursdays that I hate the most.
Anyway, Kaylin, you somehow derailed yourself. Go, keep going.
Classic Kalen.
So I guess this movie came out in 2004, according to my DVD cover case thing here. I'm pretty sure I did not see this in theaters. I'm pretty sure when it came out on DVD, I bought it during one of my trips to HMV. And so, in around 2004, 2005. So what's 2004? Graduated. So I was like around 18, 19 or something like that. The immature child in me definitely laughed at the inappropriateness in the movie. And I think it was because it was like ooh, that's it was,
It was by design. They put it in there for you to laugh at it.
Yeah, exactly. It was funny because it was inappropriate and you weren't supposed to do shit like that. Or say
it's almost 20 years ago at this point. It's fair to say that our sensibilities in terms of our humor it's changed. So you can admit that you laughed at the movie in 2004. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. This go around, especially where it's not to say an overdose of Matt, like Trey Parker and Matt Stone, but having done all of them consecutively, it does take its toll for sure. But yes, first time I saw this was at some point in the early 2000s on DVD at home with a bunch of weed. Actually, I don't think I'm allowed to say weed.
You can say it on Instagram and you can say it on Zoom, but I don't know if you can actually
just say a salad bowl full of dandelions.
Yeah, dandy man full of salad boys.
Satan's lettuce. What do you got there? Oh, nice.
This will get me in trouble on TikTok, probably. Terrible to say it, but it's fucking TikTok. Steve, are you done, Kaylin?
Yes, done. I'm done. Sorry.
Steve, your first experience with this lovely movie.
So I saw this movie in theaters. I was too young to see it. I remember my girlfriend at the time had to buy my ticket for me, which was I felt like a
older girl.
I felt like okay, well, 18 to 17 by a few months is not it's not a risque maneuver when you're in high school.
Don't mind me. I love older women.
Okay. Especially when they're older by 3 to 4 months. Yeah. So, yeah. And I remember going to see it and thinking that, like, I really liked the Thunderbirds when I was a kid. So I was pretty excited for this. And I've mentioned before, like, I enjoy South Park, and I always have enjoyed South Park. So I was more than excited. I think I was actually like ramped up for this movie. I was like, it's like the Thunderbirds, but also South Park voices, and the guys made it. It's going to be great. And I saw it, and I was having a good time. I remember enjoying it, and I remember laughing at the jankiness of everything and thinking of how clever all of the set design was. And at the end of the movie, my girlfriend was like, it was funny, but it was kind of like really racist. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Definitely. My girlfriend was also Japanese at the time. So she was like, yeah, I don't know if I liked all the voices. And it's like, okay, true. Yeah. And then I proceeded to do the voice in the car on the way home, which was probably not great of me, but I wasn't a great kid. But yeah, I remember liking it, and I remember thinking to myself, like, I want to see how they made this. So when it comes out on DVD, I'm probably going to buy the DVD, and I want to go through all the special features and see the puppeteers and stuff. I want to see how they did some of this stuff. And I never did, actually, no, because one of my friends bought it, and I just was like,
"Do you want to borrow mine?"
Oh yes, pass it through the screen to me now. I could probably find all those special features online now if I wanted to. But yeah, that was my experience was generally positive the first time I saw it. Unlike every other one of their movies, this one, I think I had aged into a point where I was like less grossed out and afraid of things, and I was, more adventurous. I'd gotten super into horror movies and really like body horror sci-fi at this point, so my brain was all twisted anyway. So I'm like, yes, the darker and more offensive the better. Yeah, so that's my intro to Team America.
I have a similar experience. My same aged girlfriend at the time and I went and saw it. I would say I was 19. I would say that the Venn diagram of like this humor and my humor, if this is like where I was born, was going like this, and the year this movie came out, it just became a perfect circle. And it became a perfect circle.
Everybody was like, look at the parking lot, was looking at the sky as the moon eclipsed the sun, and you're like, Team America's coming up on the screen. It's like, ah!
I'll never forget this viewing. When like the first MCU, like the first big MCU movies were coming out, like Iron Man
after
2,
Iron Man, or
Iron Man 2 and beyond, and people would go to the theaters and they would just clap and lose their mind over like, I can't believe I'm seeing these superheroes on the screen finally.
Have you guys ever clapped for a movie?
Yeah, I'll admit it. I mean, I have no melatonin in my skin, so it's probably going to be assumed.
I've done this. Ooh.
Yeah.
Or whoa. Or oh.
I've gotten real misty-eyed at a bunch of movies. So
I cry in almost every movie that intentionally tries to make you cry. It hits me every time.
No, I don't mean
Notebook.
No, that's not what I mean. I mean any movie where I see Spider-Man come on the screen for the first time in the movie, I go blind.
Like, for some reason the X-Men theme plays in your head.
Well, they did have like one of the best theme songs.
Yeah.
True. The theater going experience for this was not unlike those later MCU movies where the opening scene in Paris, everybody was just kind of like, wow, that was
Psych Out?
Fucking crazy.
Just like the scope of it, I think, was
just how good it looked and how ridiculous it was, and how, but then when they first open Mount Rushmore and it goes America, and like nobody knew it was about to happen.
Yeah.
It's just America. The first time I heard America, fuck yeah, I laughed. I don't think to this day I've laughed harder at anything.
I went back specifically to all the trailers today because I was like, I remember the trailer being really good, and I watched the trailer, and it's like, they're just aping on the trailers of the time.
Yeah, it's just
that
like,
song does not appear.
No.
That song doesn't appear, and I always remember that appearing in my memories of the trailer, and it doesn't. So like,
I did not hear that song. I did not hear that song until the moment that happened, and I remember looking at my girlfriend and she was like laughing pretty hard, but I was like, why aren't you dying right now? Like, and the theater was like losing their mind. And I'm talking like, it's
a banger.
I've never experienced that surprise. Like, I wish that I had seen Batman or No Way Home in theater, because I feel like that's the kind of like reaction
you could share with an audience.
Yeah. I do remember the same thing, like that, a wave of laughter and me looking around at the people I was with and everybody uproariously laughing. Yeah, everybody was laughing very hard.
At what in retrospect is a pretty dumb joke, but like just how epic, and like there was nothing like that. Nothing so American made but anti-American at that time. Those kind of jokes are a dime a dozen nowadays. Like Family Guy and American Dad, pretty much that's their whole shtick. But back then, man, fuck. 2004 was like the end of the like, you could get away with being an asshole on TV, and I don't miss it. It's not like I'm not like one of those people that's like the good old days when you could say the N-word without repercussions. It was more like,
what? When were you alive when that was a thing?
I'm from the 1970s. That was a bad example. The early 2000s, where you could still do a vaguely racist accent, and everybody was like, ha 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 ha. I guess is more.
I'm pretty sure that guy who with all the puppets still does his weird racist puppets, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, Jeff Dunham. Yeah,
Yeah.
Jeff Dunny, funny money. So yeah,
I can see his thing moving.
His mouth?
Yeah, because he's terrible.
I can see his thing moving.
He's a really shitty comedian who does bad jokes with dumb puppets, and he's like a bad ventriloquist because he's more of a comedian, arguably. Anyway, so yeah, basically it was a coming of age story. Me seeing this movie.
Okay.
And it made me feel like it sort of changed how I viewed South Park. I got like around that time I was like really into South Park, but like after this I was like got really into like watched it week to week and just like didn't miss an episode. And torrenting
I think
was like
I feel the same, because I feel like after this movie is when they really became more poignant in terms of their social commentary. Like they took it to a new level after this.
I started being a lot more like, I'll say whatever I want kind of person. I was never, just disclaimer, I was never like they're doing racist accents, but I was kind of like, I'll say whatever I feel like saying. Not racist.
I do what I want.
Did you wear that T-shirt specifically tonight just so that you could back up the fact that you weren't racist as a kid?
No,
because that's more problematic than Team America in its entirety.
But
holy hell!
It just so happens that I'm wearing a Black Lives Matter shirt.
It's not.
Okay.
I've painted I'm gonna get canceled for this episode, aren't I? Because the assumptions.
We're all on the ship with you. I really hope that we don't.
Well, we have to be picked up by a network to get canceled. So
that's true.
Ooh, I can't wait to get canceled.
But this is the kind of stuff that in like 20 years, if we are famous, they'll be like, look at this episode.
I'm alluding to the fact that in 2004, I would make jokes out of anything, not racist.
Yeah, I mean, to a certain degree, like I've known you for a long time, and when we're together, like we make some pretty spicy jokes, but we're never like, we also know that like even between us, like we are like, ugh, if one of us says something that's a little too spicy, we're like, easy on the sauce, buddy. That's too much.
Too much peri sauce there, buddy. Yeah. So
I tried peri sauce for the first time the other day. Very hot, very
delicious. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good one. I'm gonna do a quick old plot summary through the Wikipedia as usual. I don't expect you guys to do this when you're hosting. I just
want the back of the case.
Well, I don't want to.
Actually, never mind. There isn't a thing on the back of the case.
It's like figure it out yourself, buddy.
I think we've also kind of gotten to the point now where we've gone through these movies and we realize that the plot really is not the point of most of their movies.
That's true. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to read through the Wikipedia version of it. I'm just going to do the synopsis, just to give if you haven't seen the movie, here's the synopsis. When North Korean ruler Kim Jong-il orchestrates a global terrorist plot, it's up to the heavily armed marionettes of the highly specialized Team America unit to stop his dastardly scheme. The group, which includes the thespian-averse technology expert Chris, not only has to face off against Jong-il, but they must also contend with the Film Actors Guild. The reason I laugh is because in this, it has it doesn't just say the Film Actors Guild. It has the letters too, which is like, why would you put that?
The abbreviation.
Yeah, it has the abbreviation. It's like,
yeah.
The Alec Baldwin part was like, this is feels like it's going to go on for too long, and he only says it 3
and
times.
It did go on for one F.A.G longer than it needed to, I think. Maybe even 2.
It was like my wife has seen this movie. She saw it, when it came out or whatever, but she was in the room for only that part of the movie.
Oh God. That's no good.
A cadre of Hollywood liberals at odds with Team America's policing the world tactics. And this movie heavily lampoons people like Alec Baldwin and Sean Penn, who are outspoken, super left-wing, anti-everything kind of people. And by anti-everything, I mean like anti-NRA.
Active activists.
No, they're activists.
Non-active activists.
They're activists in that they have enough money
Are they like
to be
they're only
philanthropists.
activists on Sundays?
I think it's more
are they-
appropriate to say that they're like voices and faces
Yeah.
that have a lot of power and money that they can throw around for causes, and their causes are often leaning very heavily in one direction.
But the thing that Trey Parker and Matt Stone, or mostly Trey Parker, is trying to say with this movie is that this group of the Screen Actors Guild, they're also outspoken that they would get together in this fictional universe to stand up against the United States and team with, at the time, their number one arch nemesis, which was Kim Jong-il. I have never been able to say his name. It's a
name that we haven't heard in so long that I even while watching the movie, I was like, oh, here's Kim Jong-un again. I'm like, wait, no, it's his dad.
And his persona in this movie is very
Cartman,
but also
Cartman,
if Cartman was
Make him a
Saddam
bath.
Hussein.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Saddam Hussein was already pretty Cartman-y.
Yeah.
So it's almost like they exercised like the really, really bad parts of Cartman and just embodied them into different characters, right? Like Cartman is the character in which these types of characters can live inside of as the main part of the group.
Yeah. For some reason, I thought of the interview when
for some reason, maybe it's because it's set in North Korea with Kim Jong-un as the main character, his son.
And the weird part too is we haven't heard from Kim Jong-un in such a long time because of this like multi-year health crisis. There is a video that came out of him from recently where he's walking. It's like a weird techno music video where he's like pointing at nukes. That like went viral. I saw it on Attack of the Show, so I know. I think it's from pretty recently, but I know that he was thought to be dead for a while.
Yeah, I actually was one of the people that believed it for like a longer than I should have, I guess. Like where I was like, I thought he died. And people were like, no, he's just faked it. I was like, why? Why was it faked? I don't understand.
Because he's a benevolent leader.
Machiavellian.
He's benevolent.
Coming after
so he can rise back up from the dead.
The people will, the North Korean people will believe it because they treat that family like deity ship.
Well, they have to.
They have to,
or else they will be killed.
The law, the dictatorship.
I don't know if any of this is true. I just know my knowledge is from YouTube videos and documentaries that are very opinionated. So
I would love,
I believe it.
I would love for much later it comes out that it's actually a utopian society. They just don't let people in because they
really want everybody to stay away, so they pretend to be right.
It's like destitute, horrible country.
Yeah.
That's why I tell everyone to stop telling everyone that Nova Scotia is awesome.
No. Nova Scotia.
It sucks. Don't ever come here.
I see what you mean.
Some of the McDonald's only speak French. You're like, what?
It's true. Halifax does rule to live in if you're cool with like slow living, you know?
Chilling, just
chilling, slow living. The bar scene, like you'll go to a bar on a Tuesday night and there'll be 3 people there.
Well, it did take Kalen 20 minutes to figure out Zoom tonight, so he's the most chilling guy I ever met.
I'm from there too, and I will say that I went to school for IT, and IT is still a bit of an uphill battle for me when I'm trying to do tech support for people. Don't tell any of my bosses.
Yeah. Well, I also had to wait 10 minutes for you too. So
I was just watching a YouTube video of this pianist.
Yeah, well, all I hear is that I was just living that slow Nova Scotia lifestyle.
Oh shit, my headset's gonna die. Talk.
Hi, did you see this one?
Did you guys calculate the number? Did you guys do the math for 9/11 times 2,356?
No, I picked up my phone and I was about to. I'm like, why am I doing this? And then I didn't do it.
Maybe it was gonna be a number of relevance.
It would have been great if it was when you turn the calculator upside down and it says boobs. If it was something like that.
Well, does it?
It doesnmes say boobless? No, damn it.
It's 2,146,316 times.
Nobody knows what that is.
Nobody does.
Times 100. Yeah. That's 9/11 times 1,000. Now it's 9/11 times blah blah blah. That's like no one knows. No one knows that is. Yeah.
Nobody does. Yeah. I didn't calculate any of it because I didn't see the point until just now where I'm like, what if they did do one of those clever numbers where when you turn it upside down, it spells something stupid? But I guess maybe they thought about it and then they realized they couldn't. They're like, there's no divisible number that you can use with 9/11 to make a boobless.
This didn't have a moment that was like, yes, and we are Team America, World Police. Look at the camera. Didn't have a lot of meta stuff in it outside of like, the actors.
They didn't say the full name. There was Team America eventually said at 47 minutes, 21 seconds, but they didn't say the full name.
Yeah.
I would say the only meta elements of this movie were when real world items that we can recognize as being a certain size for us appeared in the film multiple times, which I really appreciated every time. And it did remind me of the first time I watched it where I was like, like I, for some reason, find it very charming when there's a guy spray painted gold or like bronze to look like Kim Jong-il, but it's just a human. And like at one point you can see him blinking, but it's like out of focus in the background. So he's just kind of like wobbling a little bit. And like the little flight boozes, like the little bottles of booze as like their bar. Lots little things like that.
When he flicks the cigarette and it's clearly a hand flicking.
Every time there's a hand, it's a person with a glove on that makes it look like a weird rubbery hand. Yeah, I liked all that.
The best thing I think, the best use of that was when he's trying to decide if he wants to be in Team America. When Gary's trying to decide, and he's going into all the American monuments, and they're just full size.
Yeah, and he's tiny. He goes to the what is it? I can't remember. Oh my god, I've been there. All the graves. The graves, it's not the grave of the unknown soldier, but it's like the graveyard that is like all the people that died in like every war that they couldn't find their bodies or whatever. And so they have like markers for them. And he's just like a tiny it's like those gravestones are like about the size of like your waist, maybe, if you're like a average height person.
Yeah.
And he's just leaning up against it. You can get away with most of those monuments where they placed him, and then that's the one where you're like, oh, he's tinier than this gravestone. Great. I did like that.
But there's a bunch of places that have those style headstones. The one that stuck out to me is the Abraham Lincoln statue.
The velvet rope, though, was that an actual
monument
velvet rope, or is that one that they made for the thing?
No, that was probably the part of the actual.
Because if it was like that, seemed kind of small for like a life-size velvet rope. Do you know what I mean?
I want to know how tall these dolls were too.
I have for some scenes. Like sometimes they seem huge, sometimes they seem small.
They probably had different sized dolls for certain shots, but I think the primary marionette ones, because most marionette puppeteers are used to a certain size, but I'm sure they can use all different sizes. They were like this standard, like about knee high,
about 2 feet, yeah,
about knee high to a regular person.
Yeah.
And like that, these are the things that I was like, I want to see the special features. I want to see how big these puppets were. And do they have big puppets and little puppets? And like I know there's a scene where he's, when he's the Pearl Harbor sucks part where he's driving around his motorcycle. There's a scene where like the motorcycle comes in and you can tell that it's a shitty motorcycle with like a different puppet that's like janky as fuck. And then it comes in and then it zooms out and it's like the normal puppet. Yeah. And like it's like some camera trickery, but at the same time it's like so poorly done that it's funny. Like it actually is funny that you're like, that's not the same puppet that came in. That's great. I love it.
Yeah, like a stunt puppet.
And we know, as they've said in many interviews, is like they always think that something is funnier if it is jankier and shittier. Like if it looks bad, then the joke will land even better.
They lean into that a lot in this movie with things like there's a lot of like movie dramatic irony, like what in a normal movie would be a cut to somebody and have them do a facial expression, and they do that a lot in this, where they'll cut back to the person for what should be a facial expression and then they'll turn and walk away and their face is just dead just stone.
Yeah, like
they're
yeah.
and they'll do like a slow zoom, but the zoom will stop and they'll still hold on it for like slightly too long, like just a couple of beats longer than it should cut. Like when it feels comfortable to cut, they still leave like 2 seconds of of holding on it.
The other
which is also funny
thing I really fucking love is when Ward's word is in the like command seat and his chair is just going all over the shot, back and forth, and then there's one or two where it just is going nuts, like it's just going all over, like back and forth.
Yeah, he's like upside down, and
and
that was funny.
That really stuck with me. I think that this movie didn't live up to the hype that I set up for myself, much like every other movie this week, but it still is a technical marvel that they were able to make this look good.
I agree. I agree completely. I think this movie, in terms of
the sets alone,
the sets alone are great. Like the Panama Canal exploding is like, it's so good, and like everything, they like film it all in slow motion, so everyone's like the steel drummer is like ding ding, and like it looks like a terrible action movie from that era where they're like setting up like a child with a doll and like people like tending to chickens and stuff, and I'm like, this is exactly what they would do in an action movie of that era. It blows up and everyone gets destroyed, and it looks, even though you are fully aware that everything is tiny, like you can imagine people like opening floodgates on the sides to let the water go through. It's charming. Like all that shit is charming. Every single time they have a massive set, you get excited just because you're like, I know it's tiny. Everything's tiny. And I think that like that's the biggest strength of this movie. And I will fall back to my previous, not arguments, but like points about the other movies, is like, they are not bad filmmakers and they're not bad writers, but they need a half an hour slot to write a movie. And you go beyond that and they can't have a story that like feels well, not masterfully built. And like, again, the story in this movie is bad. A lot of the jokes, like the jokes that go on for a little bit too long, not great. But the fact that they decided to make it with puppets is like the masterstroke of this movie. It's like, if this movie existed in live action, it would suck. If this movie was animation, it would probably also suck. Like a lot of the charm of this movie is just that it's a bunch of janky ass wooden puppets on strings. It's
the joke
great.
That they're marionettes, which is great, and it falls into the category that Orgasmo kind of fell in, where I'm like, watch it once if you're a fan, but then you'll probably want to watch this movie a second time, but then probably don't bother again, because
you don't need to.
You don't need to. You get it all from the first time. It's like, wow, I can't believe they did this, and the second time you pick up most of the other little things. Then watch it like 10 years later, you know what I mean? Basketball, if you grew up with that movie the way I did, I'm still gonna watch it every year, every 2 years max, you know, like I'm looking I'm looking for certain jokes, but for you guys, maybe you're not gonna have that same experience. I don't think it just aged the same way. Like I was at that ripe age when this movie came out. I was excited to watch it today because I hadn't seen it. I haven't seen Team America in 15 years.
I haven't seen it since I watched it a couple of times when it came out on DVD after its release, but I didn't like decide one day at a party to be like, you guys want to watch Team America? Because like I would have been embarrassed to do that.
We had aged past like hanging out after school at somebody's house by the time, like we were all out of high school, so we were going to house parties at night where we were like,
that's what I mean. I'm talking about like in your early 20s or whatever. Like no one at a house party is going to all want to sit down and watch Team America at that point, right?
Because those kind of movies were put on before alcohol came into the equation. Like something like The Matrix. It's 1999. You can't get alcohol. All you have is like 1 gram of weed between 7 people. You smoke a joint and you watch one movie, and then you're all burnt out, and then you're like, well, I guess I'm gonna go home now and play video games. Another thing from this era that I really loved was the soundtrack, and it had been such a long time since I heard the score to this movie that I used to hum the like do 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 do. I used to hum it all the time. up
Yeah.
until a few years ago where it just kind of left, and I always forgot where it had come from. And the second I heard it, I was like, oh yeah,
I love it when that happens.
I had this album downloaded, and
Yeah, and not even just like the tracks where Trey Parker is singing, but like the actual orchestral score of this movie
it's
is
very good.
pretty good. Like it's actually quite good, and it like hits appropriately, and it like gives you those transitional stings that you want from a stupid, you know, like terrorist or attacking movie of this era in exactly the way you want, and it makes it funnier. Like when you see North Korea at night with a bunch of palaces, and it's like, and it's like, and it has the drums and everything. And you're like, it's funny and it's powerful.
I remember too
good.
Some of the songs on this, the comedy songs on this, like I really like novelty music. I grew up with Weird Al. I love Tenacious D and the
Richard Cheese.
Yeah, around this time I was actually probably unironically.
Yeah, man, I remember Richard Cheese.
That's how I win you over. I make more parody music.
Do it. You've already won me over in spite of me. Alanis Morissette, 1994. But my point here is a lot of the songs on this were in my regular like rotation for many years. Like Freedom Isn't Free. There's a hefty fucking fee. That's a fucking classic. Even the like little songs that they're playing, like weird Korean songs that they're playing for Kim Jong.
Right. Yeah.
Those on the
where you can tell it's Trey Parker just making noises.
Yeah.
That's not racist because of sound effects. But those two songs, sorry, Steve, those two songs were right next to each other on the album, and I remember listening to those two, like the do 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 do, and then the one that's after that's just kind of like women dancing on the stage.
Yeah.
They're together on the album, and I remember listening to that track a lot. And yeah, I do hate I'm So Lonely. I've always hated it. I've always thought it felt, and when he goes hello, that's not what he says, but that was in the trailer, I remember, and that feels like the same as Saddam Hussein in South Park.
I will admit that during that performance, there was one moment where I giggled and was like, "Oh my god!" Like it's so stupid. Like it lulls, and then he goes, "Not really." It says "not really" in like a very like a "whoo, you got me" kind of way. And I was like, oh, God, that's so stupid. But it really did make me laugh. And then, like, throughout the rest, I was giggling, but I was giggling at just that one thing. And every time he did it after that, it was, like, making me laugh. And I'm like, I feel like I need to be locked in a goddamn cage for this.
Padded
like, I laughed at a thing I shouldn't laugh at, but listening.
It appeals to your love of like Disney style musicals songs. Oh, Steve's getting the old.
I think maybe his headphones dying.
No, he's getting the old circle of doom.
I think my internet is
pooping.
It's taking a dump on itself as it does.
Maybe
I should just pull the plug now instead of waiting till I die. Should I?
I mean, it seems fine again now.
No, I mean like restart it because it's gonna die. All right, I mean we could just wait till it dies on its own. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean as long as you're not in the middle of a long, sentence, like you almost just
I almost every single time.
Yeah.
Like and then I'm frozen. They're like, Steve was gonna say the coolest thing.
That was the most important one.
I'm still sore about that Princess Mononoke episode where I was going to go on a huge rant about the hair standing up, and I never really got it out the way I wanted to.
I'm working on my hair from that.
Anyway, Jason, continue about the soundtrack.
So anyway, that pretty much wraps it up. I just remember this movie brought back a lot of those like feelings from that era because of hearing the songs for the first time in 15 almost like this movie's almost 20 years old. Almost. This movie's almost 20 years. There's going to be a 20th anniversary probably special release or something.
I don't know. I don't know about that.
That's true though. Yeah, because this movie.
They don't really do anniversary specials for anything. There wasn't a basketball or an Orgasmo or.
Oh, that might have been it.
No, he's still there.
Well, he's not moving though. I can.
He's moving on my
choppy.
thing.
Steve, just pull
Oh.
the plug. Maybe just pull the plug. You'll be back before you know it.
I'm still on the Instagram though.
Kind
Well,
of.
now it's starting to do the thing.
So unfortunately,
Does it look like I'm wearing a wig?
No. Does
Okay.
it look like I'm wearing a wig?
Nope.
Does it look like I'm Kim Jong? This only works for the people watching this Zoom. I'm probably gonna have to say that we're gonna probably want to go into our final thoughts like in 15 minutes or so.
We're waiting for Steve to get back, right?
We wait for Steve to get back. So
can I hit you with a couple little things?
Yeah, hit me with some things for the people.
So you mentioned, you guys were talking earlier about like the jankiness of it, which definitely adds to the comedic value. Huge like production, like high quality production, which I think pairs nicely with the silliness of it. But like one of the first like good laughs that I got was the first scene when like they first arrived to like fight in Paris or whatever, and one of the terrorist guns I think is jammed or some shit like that, so he doesn't have a gun, and then so the Team America guys like fights him hand to hand, like he puts his gun down and they fight hand to hand, and it's just like,
yeah,
that one gave me a good little laugh when the boss guy or whatever, the headquarters guy goes to recruit Gary. He's like, follow me, and then it does the little weird like steppy step thing outside the door or whatever. We've sometimes done a bit where we Muppetize. Can we humanize this movie?
What do you think? Okay.
So, I texted you guys Chris Pine.
Chris Pine for Gary. I think that the actor who plays Chris, or the Chris, the guy with the glasses, he looks like you might have to look this up.
I'll look it up. I was trying to find, I think he was in a movie though. The guy with the frosted tip hair or whatever.
No, okay, so he played M. Bison in The Legend of Chun-Li.
Okay.
I don't know if you saw that. But the actor is Neil McDonough. Look up Neil McDonough and you'll see what I mean, because this dude looks like Chris from Team America World Police.
Neil McDonough?
Yeah.
Neil. Oh, Tom Green's trying to go live, steal our viewers. Tom, why don't you join our live instead? MC or MAC?
MC.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see that. I can see that. Let's see who else we got.
All of the actors, all of the real actors in this movie obviously would just play themselves, I assume.
Yeah. The Basil guy or whatever, the like head the
Wordsworth.
Yeah. He, for some reason, I just pictured the guy from Austin Powers.
Yeah. Which guy from? Oh, but like literally Basil from Austin.
Maybe
Bosley.
Or
No, Bosley is Charlie's Angels.
No, okay. Basil.
Yeah, I think Basil. Yeah,
something like that.
Can you invite me back into?
Oh, hello.
Oh, hello.
We're doing our somewhat recurring segment, but instead of Muppetizing the movie, we're humanizing the movie.
Yes, I was still listening.
Oh, nice.
So you wanted to give Chris Pine to the main guy?
Yeah,
to Gary, based on our conversation on our chat that we had earlier.
The text.
Right.
Let me just pull up the rest of the cast. So the guy who dies at the beginning has like he's got a kind of a beard like mine, but
goatee.
Yeah.
I would probably cast Alec Baldwin as Alec Baldwin, to be honest.
That's what I said. I said all the
damn it.
Matt Damon.
I don't know if
So-
Matt Damon would be down to do that. Actually, maybe
No,
he would.
he
Right.
he actually liked the movie. He was cool about it. And the reason for his character doing that is because the marionette ended up like looking the way it did, and like they were just kind of gonna like trash it, but they're like,
They couldn't figure out how to. They're like,
Yeah,
let's just
exactly.
make him have
Yeah.
a mental deficit. You know who I actually truly believe would do the role, like out of all of them, other than maybe Matt Damon?
George Clooney.
No, I think Susan Sarandon would actually do that.
Yeah,
like
she's hip enough. I think
Yeah.
Tim Robbins also, because he comes from a
he might,
comedy
yeah,
background.
he would
Tim
probably be down to
Robbins-
be like, we're guards. We're guards.
I know Martin Sheen would not do
Sean
that.
Penn
No.
was pissed off. I guess he actually wrote them a letter.
I think, Sean Penn famously
he wrote them a letter based on the trailer, not even the movie, which is wild.
But he
to
has
be
one of the
like,
best
fuck
lines in
you."
the movie. One of the best lines in the movie. He just goes out of nowhere. Kia!
Yeah. No, he says kerpla, and
Oh yeah,
like
kerpla!
that's what they're all
yeah.
yelling at the table. They're all like kerpla, kerpla, kerpla.
That made me think of Cabal for some reason.
Well, it is a cabal.
Yeah, exactly.
They're
That's what,
overthrowing so Susan Sarandon
the
would
girl-
definitely do it.
The
I was
girls
kind of
could-
thinking Naomi Watts for Lisa, or that chick from the show Atypical, the mom from Atypical.
or like Aubrey Plaza.
The
Oh no, Lisa.
Sarah?
Lisa's the blonde for Sarah. Yeah,
For
Yeah,
Sarah,
okay, I could see
Audrey
Aubrey
Plaza
as
for
Sarah.
Sarah would be funny if she played it in an Audrey Plaza way, where she's just
Yeah.
like she's just acting like she knows
Like,
what
I'm
they're
an
thinking.
empath.
Yeah,
I'm an
I
Yeah.
sense that you're like, you're uncomfortable or whatever. That would be pretty funny. Yeah.
Oh, Sarah Chalk could literally play Lisa.
Who?
Sarah Chalk from she does the mom's voice on Rick and Morty, and she's also from Scrubs.
What's her name from The Good Place? The main character in the
Kristen Bell. Kristen Bell would be
yeah.
good too.
Yeah,
she could do it.
Kristen Bell
And she
would be
probably
good.
maybe would. I don't know. The Good Place is a very, very good show.
Oh,
She probably
fucking-
doesn't need to.
What's her face from Step Brothers? That like she's the wife of
yeah, of the brother, who hates the acapella training or whatever.
yeah.
She would be
also
good,
in Scarlet Witch.
She's also very funny, like extremely
She's
funny.
hilarious. Yeah.
The guy with the beard at the beginning who dies, what's his name? The
Colin
husband.
Farrell.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, got a good like Hollywood man at the beginning. Yeah, yeah, like
Could
Colin
just
Farrell
die
would be good,
hilariously.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just like
I
you
would
gotta
just
find
cast-
somebody else and move on.
I would just
But
cast
Steve-
Kim Jong Il
Good.
with the person, the actor who played him.
In the interview.
No, that actor is good, but the actor who played him in South Park, or no, sorry, not South Park. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I know it's a
Did they
deep
do a
cut.
bit?
It's a deep cut. There's an episode where they have the bar crawl, and they find out that this bar down the way is also part of this bar crawl, and they're going to be the last bar on the bar crawl. And they
And then
go
they're gonna
over.
it's gonna be trashed.
No, they go. Well, they want to be the last bar.
They want to be.
Yeah, because that's where that's where people spend all their money at the end of the night.
Okay, I guess so.
And they go to this bar. It's also the episode with the first appearance of the Duster jacket.
Ooh, the Duster.
And they go there, and it turns out that it's like it's Korean owned. The owner looks like Kim Jong-un, and then the daughter likes Charlie, but then they're gonna have a wet t-shirt contest at Patty's pub, and then Frank finds out that the daughter that likes Charlie is only 13, who's played by another comedian who's been in like a bunch of stuff now. And he famously jumps in the way and gets his t-shirt wet instead of the 13-year-old girl. I've been watching a lot of It's Always Sunny because I'm going through I watch the podcast weekly, but I watched the episode they're going to talk about before it.
Is it on Disney Plus?
Yes.
Nice.
I think only 5 episodes are missing also.
Oh.
Yeah, they had to take down a bunch of them.
The ones that are too offensive even for Disney Plus.
The ones where D's and fucking Latina
the ones that
face.
Disney wouldn't show you.
The ones where, the ones with like D dressed up like a Latina person or in blackface.
Oof. Yeah.
Or the Lethal Weapon episodes where Max in blackface.
Yeah, maybe just no face is
No
the way to
faces.
go. Yeah.
White face on Atlanta is fine though, because that's fucking funny. The kid that's in white face, oh, that's a
Yeah, this movie also had brown face.
Like bad
the
brown
reason I
face.
like to focus the reason I like to focus in on the jankiness and like the charm of the puppets is because like a lot of the jokes they don't really land, right? Like the humor that's meant to be there in the writing doesn't really, for me, like I can't even really name. I like the songs are great, the puppetry is amazing, the fact that they purposefully asked them to make the puppets less good because they hired like master puppeteers who can like literally make people do things that look. Have you ever seen Being John Malkovich, where the guy is like where John Cusack is like getting the two puppets to fuck and it's like perfect? It's like they can do that and then they're just like, no, they gotta look like they're like just hitting each other. Like they can make a guy look like he's walking into a room for real, but they didn't want that.
In that same note, the universe has a style to it. It all has a look, like it's all a uniform style. And when they have to have the action look good, it looks really good. Like the end sequence, the gore looks awesome, and the end sequence, all the fighting.
The one that got its face or its head blown off.
I love every time a puppet gets shot. I'm like, it reminds me of like RoboCop from when I was like a kid, like watching like,
when Susan
Sarandon yes, more puppets exploding, please.
When Susan Sarandon falls from the balcony and explodes like just red paint. That was
like it was just like dropping a pumpkin or like a watermelon or something.
Or water
balloon or something. Yeah.
That stuff's good, but the actual like choreographed fighting towards the end was a mix of that, like two puppets just sort of mashing together, and then also like some cool high kicks thrown, and they do a fucking Matrix joke because it was 2004 and everything had to have the slowdown.
It was just after the last sequel. It was like quite close to the last sequel, or the same year as the last sequel.
But every parody of every joke movie.
Oh yeah, every scary movie had a Matrix. Everybody was riffing.
Why did the when they're so I noticed it on the sex scene, he had like holes in his chest, which I couldn't understand.
Strings attached there. That's what the strings.
Yeah, probably strings.
No, I don't believe it was. They were holes.
Maybe it's just where you put squibs. Maybe it was you know what I mean? You could put
squibs. See, that's the thing. I could see it being useful for something that it was being useful for.
So maybe they just wanted to remind you that they're puppets.
Yeah.
So you didn't get too horny in the theater and start jerking off, you freak.
That scene, I'm gonna be real.
They made her chest look very good.
I had to think about whether or not I was going to admit this, but I just fast forwarded through that scene. I hate it. I've always hated it. I think it's gross. Makes me feel weird.
The R-rated,
and then I was going to say,
where they shit all over each other.
There is an extended version. There's an extended. It wasn't in the copy.
No.
I saw that. I watched it in like 2005 when it was like, is it on that DVD? Oh my god.
Yeah.
I don't know
apparently
why.
People like that sort of thing. Some people do.
It's funny. It was funny the first time I saw it.
Well, the reason it's uncomfortable is because it's not a sex scene, it's a pornographic scene. It's they basically recreated a porn scene. Like they're doing shit that they would never show in like a normal movie, right? Like they're banging up against like ottomans and like against the mirror and like jackhammering and like they're doing stuff that you see in porno,
and
like
downing.
It's not a romantic sex scene, it's a hardcore puppet pornography scene that there's no dick, no vagina, but there's just like these Ken doll Barbies just bashing up.
Very voluptuous though.
Yeah, and he's got great abs. What are you trying to say?
He did have great abs.
Caitlin was trying to pull one out during fucking to the boobs on the doll.
How
about the two Star Wars references, Steve?
The
music. Hey, he said Steve, not Caitlin. The Jedi mind trick at the end. He's like,
"Oh yes, that one."
You don't need to see my invitation. I'm just running a little bit late." And they're like, "I believe him. Let him in." And then there was the
bitch.
where the Middle Eastern bar was an alien bar.
But also,
oh no,
it exposes George Lucas a little bit. Because
I think George Lucas exposed himself with Watto and the Nemoidians and a lot of aliens and Star Wars.
And not to mention Jar Jar Binks being a fucking basic I
don't like bringing up Jar Jar Binks anymore because I learned a lot about Ahmed Best and like the life-ruining experience that playing Jar Jar was for him, and it really kind of like made me be like, maybe I should never mention that again to anybody.
Yeah, but the character
I heard he was going to be the ultimate evil enemy or something, though. Like all those accidents he did only looked like accidents, and he was actually
Kaylin, welcome to the year 2022. People have been talking about that since 2017. Get your act together.
I've been talking about that since 1999.
People thought that Jar Jar Binks was going to show up in The Last Jedi. Like, oh, it's me,
sir. I'm the big bad guy.
I'm the worst Jedi ever. Yeah, like, I don't think so. Who knows? The only person that knows, George Lucas. Maybe he
doesn't even know. He doesn't know. He's just going as he goes.
The only thing that he knows is that he created one of the best things that ever existed on planet Earth and beyond.
A New Hope, and then that's A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and then that's it.
No, I love Return of the Jedi. It's great.
I know.
I also really like a lot of the prequels.
Hey, man. Hindsight's 2020 when those prequels are looking real good to me now after the new ones. And I'm sure
I like them at the time. Every single Star Wars movie I've ever left, I've been like, best one yet. That was the greatest Star Wars I ever saw. Like every single like I left Solo being like, wow, who would have thought how cool Chewie would have looked covered in mud?
I think they're going to break the mold.
Why has no one ever done that before?
When they do a Knights of the Old Republic trilogy, and everybody's like, "Oh, it can be high fantasy, sick." That's where I'm going to come and be like, "Oh, this is
like
Final Fantasy
prequels.
This is Final Fantasy. This is what Final Fantasy.
Final Fantasy is also based on other things too. You know, it's not like the holy grail of creative genius.
It's
right?
my favorite. It's a but it's like super referential to like everything. I know there's no real.
It's also referencing a lot of stuff. Like it is like referencing so much.
Final Fantasy 12 is a Star Wars movie, in my opinion. So,
correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't the creator of Final Fantasy name two of his characters after Star Wars characters, and they're like the Rosencrantz and Guildenstern? Like, pretty sure that is
because you're right. To be fair, well, he named Biggs, and some of it's not always Biggs and Wedge, but then in the translations here, it's always Biggs and Wedge because of that, and then it became that they're always called Biggs and Wedge because of that. But yes,
listen, all I'm saying is that there are great moments of storytelling, and they sometimes go hand in hand, and sometimes they inspire each other. And there's no reason for you to hate on Star Wars. There's no reason for me to hate on Final Fantasy.
But we can all agree that we hate
it's better. I'm gonna defend myself. Star Trek is good. I like Star Trek.
I know you like Star Trek. That's the joke. It's fine, everybody. I don't like Star Trek. I like Star Wars. I don't like Lord of the Rings. I want to see a Knights of the Old Republic. That's a lot more of the Jedi magic shit. Lots of magic. I want to see them do magic, like Sith fire.
Sith fire. It's called lightning, which is a very distilled.
No, that's another move. Lightning and also fire.
Yeah.
But fire this time. Do it.
No, I also like Final Fantasy. I just find the games very tedious, and that's why I cannot play them. I have played a few of them, but I just can't get through them all. It's hard. It's too many. Many and too long. I just
played Final Fantasy 1 to 6 through again in under a year. So you can.
I don't know where you find the time. I can barely get up and shower properly in the morning.
Well, you might want to see.
That's the time right there.
My psychiatrist said that too. He said you should probably see a different psychiatrist.
I can't help you with that. This pill bottle can though, maybe, or you'll lose your libido. Who knows? So anyway,
Apparently,
about this movie,
you lose your libido.
Yeah. So here's the thing, guys. It's already 25 after. We're starting
to talk about other stuff.
We started talking about other stuff.
I know you've got to go to bed, so let's go through the final thoughts. And,
so just hold on 1 second. I just want to make sure we talked about the major points of this movie. And the fringe things were things like the soundtrack, the puppet sex, mentioning the extended puppet sex, listening to Kaylin get horny over the puppet sex. All of these things I knew would happen. We
Cut a
talked
hole in his pocket before he went into the theater. He's like, I heard there's a puppet sex part in this movie.
We talked about the dolls. We talked about I think we covered, like, I'm going through my list very quickly here, and I think we covered everything that I want to talk about. Maybe if you guys can wrap it down to 5 to 10 minutes. Do you have anything else you want to mention?
I got one other thing. The stereotypical guy just wants sex, where she's like, if you could tell me that you won't die, then I would make love to you right here, right now, or whatever it is. I promise you, I will never die.
And then when she's like, you promised me last night, and he was like, I promised I'd never die.
Yeah, I didn't say I'd never leave. Fuck you. Gotta go.
Also, when Kim Jong-il flies away, a cockroach comes out of his mouth and it gets into a spaceship and flies away, setting up a sequel that never happened. I know it was just a joke. They were probably never planning on doing a sequel. I mean, if this movie had somehow gotten so popular, made so much money that they had to undeniably make a sequel, then I'm sure that would have played a part into it. But I did like that.
Yeah, I mean, I even watched to the end to be like, is there going to be a? And then I realized scrubbing through the credits that there's an additional Kim Jong-il song that is in the credits that I didn't know existed, because I didn't own the soundtrack and I had never watched that far in. And he's just talking about how Alec Baldwin is a piece of shit or something. I assume that it was meant to be like him in the spaceship singing it, like as a cockroach, like flying the spaceship. But my favorite line in the movie is when what's her name? Lisa says something to Kim Jong-il and he goes, bring her, and then he turns around and goes, upstairs. It's like, because he turns away and says upstairs, but he says it like a little baby boy. It's so funny. I assume that was like him recording and he added that in after like the take, watching the like puppets. And they just probably thought it was very funny and left it in. And I agree that if that wasn't there, I would have probably been like snoozing at that point. The guards was the last thing that made me laugh. And like
a couple of other little
upstairs. Upstairs.
A couple of the things that made me laugh, that, you know, one of the main things that people bring up all the time is the dicks fuck asshole speech. I always thought that was...
Nobody brings that up.
Really?
I mean, it is a good
in your
metaphor.
life, people bring that up. I think about it a lot. What I think about a lot is pussies are an inch and a half away from assholes. I think that line pops into my head all the time, and I don't know why. I guess because I saw this movie, and it makes me think about that speech. It's not imagery. It's just like, oh yeah, it's true.
But also, it's a good.
It is kind of true. Like that whole speech is kind of true.
Yeah,
in a weird way.
It's an excellent like Deadwood level use of swearing analogy for an double entendre for.
Nice.
It's perfect for this movie. You could never use that in any like real life situation where people will be like,
"You totally
wow, you're right." Okay, maybe you could, Kaylin, in your friend group. I don't think I could.
The other, speaking of swearing, Chris's use of swearing in this movie is all very good. Surprise cockbags, and then he fucking the ramp comes out of the Jeep and they fly into the Sphinx and the Sphinx falls down. Like that kind of stuff makes me laugh. And finally, I
liked his voice a lot in the movie. Like the voice he was doing was very like it was so stupid, but it was like so on point for like
that was the boss guy, like the
guy wearing like the stupid mountain climbing goggles and
the guy that hates.
I don't know who you think you are, but you're not supposed to be here. Yeah, like
the guy that hates Gary.
He's like holding up the pool cue and he's like, well, I wouldn't trust him behind my butt or whatever. And he's like it hits the pool cue and it's just terrible. It's like a terrible shot.
The last thing that made me laugh is their depiction of Michael Moore. having mustard all over him and holding 2 hot dogs and ranting. I like Michael Moore, but
they also like Michael Moore.
I guess
Yeah.
Matt Stone was in, like, they had he made an edit of
They
his,
made
like,
they made a whole animated short in Bowling for Columbine. Trey Parker and Matt Stone.
Oh,
made that.
really?
Yeah.
Oh.
yeah. So I'm sure that Michael Moore is self-aware enough self-aware enough that he liked that depiction of him, and then him being like the
I thought they were
bomber.
pissed off at him.
Could be. Who knows?
Be it.
Every interview I hear with over this last week, every interview I've heard with Trey Parker, Matt Stone, they're always like, we used to get invited to Hollywood parties at the very beginning, and now nobody talks to us because we don't care about who we lampoon. And just seeing what they did to Michael or Isaac Hayes, for being a dick about the Scientology stuff, and they
don't seem like the nicest people.
They kind of seem like dickheads in real life that
they
probably don't have a lot of friends.
It would be like if somebody gave us unlimited power and then we became friends with George Clooney, and then we're like, how do we corrupt our own power?
Yeah. Alienate everyone.
But they're like, it's like they've been trying to corrupt their own power for so long, but they just keep gaining more power every time they do it. Yeah. Which is also kind of cool. Like,
they're advocates for free.
No one can stop us.
They're advocates for free speech, and when you're an advocate for free speech, you have to test the boundaries, and you got to push to change the guard.
One of the things that I really
Frank Zappa was like that. Dee Snider was like that. Like these people that wanted to go directly against the concerned parents or the MPAA or the people that put the little fucking explicit lyrics on a record. People that want to go against the man, basically, who want to.
One of the things that I really respected from Matt Stone in an interview was that he was saying, because it was a very recent one too, where they were in the tail end of making the superhero video game, and they've been getting lots and lots of flack from every direction about every possible subject, and they cover all of it in everything, right? Like they have been doing forever. And I have a lot of issues with their humor in certain aspects of life, but then Matt Stone said beautifully, he's like, you know what, we get flack all the time, but at the end of the day, if people aren't laughing, they're not laughing. So yeah. I'm not going to make a joke that I think is funny just because I think it's funny. I want to make sure that people are laughing about it. And like, that made me kind of like pull back a little bit and be like, oh yeah, it is just jokes. Like they're making jokes.
Yeah.
And I don't need to get so upset about everything. And like, I know I've kind of like tried to get in deep about like why certain things are bad over this entire month, but like, I do understand that like they have been and are currently and will still continue to make jokes. But the fact that he understands if people aren't laughing, they're not laughing, is something that I can respect and understand, and I kind of really appreciate. Where if he gets to the point that we're not laughing anymore, like if I'm not laughing at something, but you are and you are, sure. But if it starts to bleed across where we're all not laughing, they're going to pull back, and they'll have to pull back, but they'll start punching in the right direction.
Well, that almost happened when Donald Trump was literally the president. They were like, what do we even, like, the worst, a South Park plot is happening in real life. How do we joke about it? The jokes are already happening in real life, so that's why the seasons were weird for a few years,
where they're like, he's writing our material for us,
but we can't use it because we don't like to rip off other comedians, except for South Park, of course, or except for
and Donald Trump is the greatest comedian who ever lived. He pulled off the greatest joke ever, which was becoming the president of the United States of America.
Yeah,
somehow. And
so with
still cracking jokes about it.
That was well said, Steve. With that, I think we should go into our final thoughts. I'll start with Kaylin. Let us. How do you feel? If you want to sort of sum up this movie and then sum up the whole experience, that's probably what we should do here.
For sure. This isn't a thinker. We're not gonna start philosophizing. Well, I mean, maybe
You
I'm being a
can
little
about this movie.
hard-side.
You can.
There's,
But
yeah,
go on,
you could. I take that back. I'm going down the wrong path here. There.
Every time Kaylin talks, I picture the Beauty and the Beast trails, like the one that's like full of flowers and the one that's like a horrible woods. And he's like, which one do I go down?
Obviously, this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was high when I watched it. It helped me turn off my brain. A majority of the things that I found funny were simple little things that were just inappropriate, I guess, at the end of the day, and it almost like turned me against myself or whatever. It's like made me kind of like, you know, realize or like see the growth of you know, me being like a more mature person and kind of being more understanding of other views and peoples and perspectives and that sort of thing, and how I'm starting to trail. My apologies. So, final thoughts. If you're smoking a lot of weed and have nothing else to do, you might have some fun with this movie. If you enjoy marionettes doing it,
which you do, we've discussed, you definitely do,
and definitely enjoy this movie. I give it, what do I give it? I'll give it a face-off between these marionettes and Jim Henson's Workshop of Creatures. That's what I give it.
Cool. Pretty good. Hey, does this look like Paul Dano in The Joker?
A little bit.
Or sorry,
Maybe
in The Joker,
in
the movie The Joker.
Are we harmonizing?
No. We're doing the best part of the movie The Joker, starring the Batman. That's a good Paul Dano in the Batman. Fuck, I need to watch that movie again, or just fast forward to the when he gets to the red alert, because from then on,
fast forwarding, and then you hit it, and he's like, and you're like, too late.
Too late.
Oh, and you're like, oh,
because the whole movie is a banger, but from the point where they capture the Riddler to the end of the movie, it's like premium Batman.
It's crazy online how many people are at each other's throats over the Snyderverse versus this new Batman. It's like,
what?
Guys, calm down. It's a Batman movie.
Can we all just not enjoy
Batman that it's a good Batman?
Well, I guess Superman versus Batman is like got a Batman movie in it, kind of. Anyway, this is a Team America World Police. Steve, give us your final thoughts, and then I'll take us home.
You know, I went into this tired, beaten around, feeling a little rough, nauseous from the entirety of the catalog of Trey Parker and Matt Stone. And I still think that as much as they hate making movies, and as much as I think that they're not really great at writing them, they should maybe have another crack at it. Because like, this movie, in terms of impressing me with the stuff that was meant to impress, like the things that they're like, this is going to be hilarious, like the France at the beginning where they destroy the Eiffel Tower onto what's it called? I don't know. The French arches. No, like I can't remember what they're called.
The canal?
No, the arches de la blah blah blah. I can't remember what it's called. Like there's like those arches that like traffic goes around, and it's like a very old thing, and like the Eiffel Tower falls right on it.
A rotary?
No, Kaylin, it's a very famous architectural landmark. It's like a thing that has been around for like hundreds and hundreds of years. It's not a roundabout. You're like, a roundabout? A French roundabout? Did they destroy a French roundabout?
I call it
they also destroyed
the Arc de Triomphe des Études.
Okay.
Is it round?
No, it's an arch. It's
Or
an arch.
the Arc
It's like
de
an arch.
Triomphe du
Like a bridge?
Carcel.
It's the triumphant arches, I believe, is what it translates to. Anyway.
Grand Arche de la Défense. There's many
Anyway,
arches. There's several arches in France.
So
in Paris.
From that moment onward, I was like, oh, I forgot how much this movie means to me in terms of like just it's like a Coraline, or it's like a Nightmare Before Christmas, where there's like all these little miniature sets that are like super impressive, and I can turn myself off and forget about the poorly written jokes or the things that are meant to be really funny, but I'm just not really, they're not hitting for me because I'm not 16 anymore or whatever. And like I was able to enjoy it just as a masterful work of art. Like the scene where they're on the railing and talking just before they rail each other where they're leaning on the railing, and there are the heads of the Mount Rushmore behind them. Yeah. I for a moment was like, oh, those are real faces, they just painted them to look like stone. And then I was like, wait, no, they're not. Those are carved faces, and like those are real things. Like they're in the background, and like there's a lot of artistry in this movie that you can appreciate completely artistically. You don't have to think about the composition of humor in the writing. You can just watch the scenes and be like, wow, look at all the stuff they did for this stupid puppet movie, and it's super impressive. And I guarantee you there are like masters of their craft that worked on this movie and we're like, okay, so we're gonna do some squibs here and blow some stuff over here, and then like Trey Parker master, and we're like, okay, so we're gonna make them run this way, and then what? They're like, well, you only have one take on this because we're going to blow this whole thing up, and once it blows up, it's blown up. And like that kind of stuff, it's kind of weirdly inspiring for somebody who would like love to make a funny movie one day, but also make something that is like made entirely by hand. Mm-hmm. Not that I'm ever going to do either of those things. I'm just like in my imagination, if I had like an unlimited budget and a great team, I'm like, I gotta do all of it. And they got there from South Park, from these other movies that we went through. They got to this point where they were able to somehow convince Paramount it's Paramount, right? Yeah, Paramount, to give them like a ton of money to just make beauty. And like I said, like every shot that is large and sweeping is impressive, and I took it in. And they do take the time, which I also appreciated, within each of those scenes to show you those landscapes. Like they do France for a while. There's like the mime, like, and there's like like there's all the weird voices and stuff, but it's also very beautiful looking. At the end of the day, though, when it comes down to storytelling and humor, it's still there. Like it still got me a couple times, which the other movies didn't do. Baseball a little bit, Orgasmo no, not really, except for hey, how's it going? Hey, how's it going? That's like the only thing. And then the other ones, whatever. But I will say that like this movie, I will never recommend this movie to anybody. Like like I can't, I cannot on merit recommend this movie to anybody based on story or humor, but I can recommend it to them on craftsmanship for sure. It's so good. Like it's crazy what they did. They took Thunderbirds and Captain Scarlet and like all those marionette shows from a bygone era, and they brought it into the new world. They're like, imagine a marionette movie now, and they did it, and they made it. And like I think they're the only people that would want to do that, one, and could do that because they did it. And it's fine. It's fine. It's a fine movie in terms of craftsmanship. Jason, I do love the music. The music is great. Montage out of montage. No. That's my rating. This is my rating. This is my rating. You're interrupting my rating. Okay. My rating is montage in this movie out of every other montage that have ever existed.
Ooh, damn, that sounds like a good rating.
And I think that this montage maybe beats all other montages in terms of training montages, because it's literally explaining to you what a montage is as it's happening, which is the best part of the montage. It's like it's showing a passage of time. It's going to show you something shitty at the beginning and show you something great at the end, so you know that there's an improvement. It's very good, and that's how I feel about Team America.
That's great. Both of you guys pretty, you hit the nail on the head. This movie doesn't have a lot of problems with technical. It looks great. It's well put together. It's got a good flow. It's not like boring really at any points. However, it does suffer from being a movie from 2004, and the humor in it is very, very, very dated. It's like when you watch an 80s comedy now and they say retard and the F slur as punchlines to jokes.
They also say the F slur in this movie.
But yes, and it's, you know what I mean? But yes.
A lot.
Yeah, I was going to try to defend it as like, well, no. They straight up say it, and it's played for the joke that they're saying it. And it's kind of like the joke in basketball where it's like, that wasn't a gay joke, that was a San Francisco joke. But no, not if you're using the slur, not if you're using the word. I kind of feel like Trey Parker and Matt Stone have a similar thing to Sacha Baron Cohen, where as long as Sacha Baron Cohen is doing gotcha, it's the top quality. South Park was at its absolute height in 2004, pretty much peaked right around this time, right? Borat was his peak. Borat and Bruno to a lesser extent, and Ali G to a lesser extent than that. And those are all that's all gotcha stuff. When Sacha Baron Cohen is doing movies like The Dictator and The Brothers Grimsby, you really see the cracks in the foundation. You really see that he's more meant to do his art. His better art is him going into public and staying in character. When it cheapens it when he does it in the movie form. The Dictator does have some gotcha elements to it, but The Brothers Grimsby is just him playing a fucking, Euro trash yokel from like Welsh or one of those like.
It's a scripted movie. He's playing a character.
Yeah. And overall, I feel like that's what happened here, where Trey Parker and Matt Stone have made these movies. Mostly Trey Parker. He seems to be the guiding force. But then South Park is where it all is melted down into the perfect thing. Because like you've said many times, their comedy works in 20-minute spurts.
Yeah.
The 20-minute format is where they shine. And I just thought I just couldn't stop thinking of fucking Borat today while I was watching this, because it's like it is a lot like trying to sit through The Dictator, which isn't that bad, but it is very much like why didn't he take the Dictator character and do that in real life? Because if you've seen his later show, This is America or
something like that, yeah.
He basically has a character like that, and the people are buying it, or the Israeli like military dude, and people are buying it. So yeah, as far as this month goes, I kind of want to apologize. I didn't realize it would be like this, where every movie got progressive. Every movie's quality sort of went up while us getting more disillusioned and our enjoyment going down. And I have a vault of Trey Parker and Matt Stone movies that I'm now closing, and I won't have to watch any of these movies again for 10 years. When I'm
also like on paper, it's a good idea, right?
Yes.
You're like, you think like, oh, these are movies I loved, but when you do a tour filmography, you gotta choose somebody that goes all over the map with what they do, right? Like if they do the same thing every time.
I mean, for my birthday next year, I'm gonna do 4 movies that Weird Al was in or created.
Oh God, VHS! I hear on the horizon.
UHF. VHS is a very
UHF,
different movie.
right.
VHS is a very different movie. That's a fucking not a snuff movie, but like a murder porn.
But
horror porn.
Give me a little tip of the hat for knowing what UHS is.
UHF.
UHF is.
And also he does the opening song for Spy Hard starring Leslie Nielsen. Which I would count. Anyway, I digress. As far as this particular movie goes, it was fine. I gave it a 3.7. I know I gave Basketball 4 last week because it was my birthday and it's one of my favorite comedies. Realistically, that movie probably skews lower, and I think a 3.7 is like an actual solid rating for this movie. And it's mostly based on technical merit. It's mostly based on I'm disconnecting my love for Trey Parker and Matt Stone for this rating, where I didn't do that last week. So
I wouldn't disagree, though. I honestly think that movie is better than this movie, like in a lot of ways.
In a lot of ways, yeah. Like it's a more feel good, like spoof movie.
It's like any Adam Sandler.
Yeah,
Adam Sandler.
Sorry, any Adam Sandler from the late 90s.
Adam Sandler movie up until Punch Drunk Love, up until he stopped doing comedies for a while, and then he came back and all his comedies.
Punch Drunk Love is good.
It's a good movie. It's a good movie, but his comedies up to Punch Drunk Love are his golden era. After that,
Wedding Singer might have been like the last best one.
Yeah, but then after that, it's like Little Nicky.
You guys don't like Zohan? You don't like
you don't mess with the
Zohan or whatever.
I liked it. Sucked. That's My Boy is good, and it's
that was good. Yeah,
I think that movie is based in a weird problematic premise that I
it definitely
am uncomfortable by.
There's some problematic stuff for how recent the movie came out, but it was one of those like it's a callback.
It deals with pedophilia and incest in the same movie somehow.
Yeah, and racial stereotypes, which they all have. Anyway,
where were these teachers when I was a kid?
Well, that's you can't make that joke.
Yeah, Kaylin.
Somebody in the chat said,
I don't hear any sirens yet, but they're coming. They're coming.
I heard one earlier coming from Steve's camera. Somebody in the chat said the Garbage Pail Kids 1987.
Oh yeah, we got to do that.
I would like to do some weird offbeat.
Well, we do have our weird
80s movies.
Weird puppet month that we were thinking about doing, where it's like puppets.
Is that the one after next month is your month, right, Steve?
Yes.
So
should we talk about that a bit?
So just before we go here, man, we're pushing it.
My bad.
We are pushing it. Well, let's talk. We'll talk about it next week. I'm gonna end it here because I gotta go. But thanks for indulging me. It was a good birthday month overall. I had a good time last week. Thank you. Stay tuned for next month when it is Steve's month. He's gonna regale us with some. What the fuck was that?
I'm pointing to the audience.
Oh, all I saw was the end of it.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, you need to point at all the cameras and not just one.
Yeah.
There. Yeah, point from further back.
Because some of the cameras make it look like you are a very bad person.
Yeah. Inappropriate. We will come at you next week with all the deets on May. Thank you again, and for Kaylin and Steven, I am Jason.
For Steven and Jason, I'm Kelvin.
For Kaylin, for Jason, I am Steven.
And hey, did you see this one?
I did. I saw it.